Meanwhile, the 8:15 p.m. Perth to Euston Night Express was making its way toward Harrow, with 11 coaches carrying approximately 85 passengers, hauled by British Rail Coronation Class 462, number 46242, known as the City of Glasgow, running 1 hour, 20 minutes late, also due to the fog. Another train was coming the opposite way. It was the 8 a.m. express from Euston to Liverpool and Manchester, carrying 15 coaches with 200 people on board, and 2 steam engines were pulling it. British Rail number 45637, which was a Jubilee Class 460 named Windward Islands, and British Rail number 46202, a Princess Royal Class 462 called the Princess Anne. At 8:19 a.m., just as the guard of the local was walking back to his freight van after checking the doors of the last 2 carriages,
Look out!
the Perth Express crashed into the rear of the local at a speed of 80 to 100 kilometers an hour. That's 50 to 60 miles per hour. The collision completely destroyed the 3 wooden coaches at the rear of the train where most of the casualties occurred, telescoping them into one another, and drove the entire train 20 yards forward. The leading 2 vans and 3 coaches of the Perth train then piled up behind and above the locomotive. Wreckage also blocked the adjacent down fast line, which was where the Liverpool Express was coming in. The leading locomotive of the Liverpool train struck the derailed locomotive of the Perth train and derailed, doing almost 60 miles an hour. Both engines of the Liverpool train then plowed across the platform before landing on their side on the adjacent DC electric main line, causing it to short circuit. The yellow line had its current quickly switched off by the signalman, thus preventing any further collisions with it. The leading 7 coaches, plus a kitchen car from the Liverpool train, were carried forward by the momentum, overriding the existing wreckage and piling up on top of it. Several of these coaches struck the underside of the station footprints, tearing away at a steel girder. Rescuers soon arrive at 8:22 a.m. and find a scene of chaos. 3 trains have all smashed into each other and have piled up into a huge pile of wreckage, people, and bodies. The fire brigade, ambulance, and police services were being assisted by doctors and a medical unit from the United States Air Force, which were based 5 miles away at a Royal Air Force base called West Ruislip. Help was accepted from the Salvation Army, the Women's Voluntary Service, and local residents who were nearby when the crash occurred. The first loaded ambulance left at 8:27 a.m., and by 12:15 p.m., most of the injured were already in hospital. The search for survivors continued until 1:30 the following morning, where all they found were just bodies. 102 people died in the crash instantly, including the driver and fireman of the Perth Express, and the driver of the lead engine of the Liverpool Express. 10 more would later die in hospital, bringing the official death toll at 112. 340 sustained very serious injuries of varying degrees, but were alive. The public demanded answers as to why the trains crashed. The Ministry of Transport did an investigation to find out what had happened. The local train should have been protected by 2 semaphore signals, with one 190 yards away and the other 440 yards away. There was also one standard light signal much further away. Tests indicated the signals all worked as intended. On this section of track, the local trains have priority over the long-distance expresses during rush hour, so the Perth Express should have been expecting adverse signals warning him of locals occupying track ahead. However, it was soon found that the Perth Express was not aware of the signals. The express had passed a colored light signal at yellow and two older semaphore signals at red. The train also forced its way through the back points on the crossover from the slow lines, which were still set for the local. So how did the driver miss them? Did he just ignore them because he was late? Well, while the fog had lifted in the vicinity of Harrow Station, with visibility improving for about 300 yards ahead, witnesses estimated that the up-fast distant track only had 50 to 100 yards visibility, so at 15 miles an hour, you'd only have 4 seconds to accurately read the signals. But then came one more factor that could have prevented disaster.